your message to Manya about by 18, if you've not figured it out, you will have to leave. If you were all Americans, would not be a threat.
Yeah.
That would be a real factual statement.
Yeah.
And it would not need to wait till 18, it would happen at 16 or 17. And there are pros and cons to everything.
Oh.
But the way I describe Indian teenagers, Manya, with due regard to you, is that the Indian teenagers have the authority of an American child, but the responsibility of an Indian child. Right? So they want their space, they want their room, they want their phone, they want their privacy, but they don't really cook or clean or do their laundry or get their groceries or fund their living.
Yeah.
So it's the responsibility of an Indian child where parents do everything, but the authority of an American child where the child is living on his own. And that whole thing brings a bit of complexity.
Yeah.
That is really where the challenge lies, right? And that's happening because our generation, which includes your parents, me, many others, we were fortunate that India grew, our economy did well, and we had higher disposable incomes.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what to do with that disposable income apart from trying to ease the life of our children. Right. So with that, we gave you a platform which makes your life comfortable, almost like an American child, but did not bring the responsibilities of an American child. Right. But that's okay. It's not a huge crisis, not yet at least. So with that, now let's come back to what the questions are. What are your questions? How can I help? What clarity are you looking for?
So I have this in very different sides. So like one side I have interest in like cooking and mostly baking, which I try to like work on during the COVID times, but not stop. But yeah, I still have the interest for cooking and baking. And then I have a large interest for singing. Like I've been doing classes in school and outside of school since I was 7 or 8. So I'm still continuing that. And then on the other side, I'm really interested in like business, like how to manage your finances and like how the economy works and all of that, and also literature. So those are like the subjects that I'm interested in currently, and I just wanted to know like how I could proceed with them to help me maybe have a future in something that I'm interested in, like what I can do for 11th and 12th, like and that like what colleges I could go to or where I could go for 11th and 12th. So yeah, that's what my main
Okay. So let's name those areas that you're interested in again. So you said cooking and baking.
Yeah.
Let's put them in one basket.
Yeah.
So let's say culinary arts.
Yes.
The second is what?
Singing.
Singing. So that's performing arts.
Yeah.
Okay. Singing, dancing, or only singing?
Dancing as well. Like I did a few courses, but mainly singing.
Okay. And what kind of singing?
Western.
Okay. Western classical?
Yeah, Western classical.
Okay. So that's the second. So let's say first is culinary arts, second is performing arts, which is mostly singing, Western classical. What's the third one?
Anything to do with finance, economy, business, all of that side.
Finance, economics, business. Okay.
And then literature, writing, journalism.
Okay. All right. So where do we start? The first two that you mentioned, which is performing arts and culinary arts, are more often pursued as hobbies than careers.
Yeah.
The difference between a hobby and a career, do you know what's the difference between a hobby and a career? So a career funds a hobby, right? A hobby doesn't fund itself. If your hobby can fund itself and your life, it becomes a career, right? So that's a very simple definition and differentiation. There are very few people who are able to convert a hobby into a career. And there are two reasons for that. But before that, those people are, for example, cricketers. A Tendulkar, a Kohli, Dhoni, these kind of people. They clearly started playing cricket because they enjoyed playing cricket. Or it is people in the performing arts. So Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan, Rajnikant, whatever these kind of people. A lot of them enjoyed acting, got into theatre clubs, and then came into movies, and movies did well. So the reason these things very rarely become careers is, like I said, two reasons. One, because the number of people in that space is huge. The number of people who earn a living out of that space is very small. Okay. So, for example, I always say India has more cricketers than Australia has people. Right? Do you know what's the population of Australia?
Not exactly. No, it's significantly less. Yes.
So it's about 20 million. Right? So about 2 crore people. India has that many people in cricket full time. By full time, I mean they're spending 6 to 8 hours a day, either playing or managing, or the people preparing the fields, or whatever. But the number of people making good money out of cricket in India, even today, is less than a few thousand. A few thousand. And India is the founder of IPL, right? The biggest format of platform of cricket. So out of 20 million, less than 20,000 make decent money, and less than maybe 500 make very good money. Right? And less than 50 make obscene amount of money. So that's one reason, that the input-output factor, as we say, the number of people getting into something and the number of people coming out successful from something, that ratio is very lopsided, it's very skewed for the areas which are largely hobbies, which are largely known as hobbies. Right? Because the number of people pursuing swimming or cricket or hockey or singing or cooking or baking is very large. Right? Even I cook. Right? But you ask me to become a professional cook, I'll fall flat, right? Because there's so much competition. People cook so well. So that's one reason, right? The first reason is the number of people going in, the number of people who believe they are really good, and the number of people who make good money out of it, the ratio is very skewed. Okay. That's one reason. The second reason is that when people pursue it as a hobby, they love it. Right? They love it because they have a nice oven at home, their mom is all involved, they get the best ingredients from a nice place. And if the cookies they bake don't shape up well, their job is still there.
Yeah.
Right? Because their job is the daughter of the home, or whatever. They're not doing it for money really. Somebody's funding that hobby. Now you take the same thing into a job. Right? Now you don't have to make 10 cookies. Now you have to make 10,000 cookies. And that's all you do all day. Right? Or you're cooking at a 5-star hotel or a restaurant or whatever, and you're doing a 12-hour shift. And your boss is screaming at you because of something really stupid. And you thought you'll go into a 5-star and make something really exotic. Right? But you land up in the Indian kitchen and all you do is stand at the tandoor and make the roti and naan and get free waxing. Right? The people who work at the tandoor, they have no hair on their arms. This is a fact, okay? The Indian guys, Indian kitchen guys who work on the tandoor, they have no hair on their arms, so free waxing. And it's a really hot environment. You can't, it's not strong air conditioning. And so people think you're working in a 5-star, but you're sweating and it's a tough place. So now this 15-year-old who thought cooking is a great thing lands up in a place where people are screaming at her and all she's doing is making naans and rotis. And she's saying like, I came here to make exotic stuff. What am I doing?
Mm.
So again, the second reason is that a hobby creates an illusion. And when that illusion hits reality, it crash lands. Right? So those are the two reasons why very rarely people are able to convert a hobby into a career. Because as you move that towards the career space, the effort required, the rigor required, the pressure, the punitive environment that comes with it, they had not expected it. So they drop it like a hot potato. Right? And the first, of course, is the input output factor is just very skewed.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't do it. I'm just giving you facts. Okay. Now let's come to the other careers that you talked about. So we'll come to the finance, eco, business in the end because of obvious reasons. But now let's come to literature. So tell me more about your love for literature and all that. What do you mean?
So I really enjoy writing. If you like, I write about anything. Like I don't have to be given a topic. If I just get a pen and paper, I can just write. And then I've tried like exploring different forms of writing. So like poems, articles, stories, like the different kinds of stories, creative and all, creative writing and all. And yeah, so I've tried to explore everything I can, and I found that I've developed a very big interest for it. So it would be
Mhm.
since I'm able to turn it into a career.
So is it fair to say that you also read?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you read?
So currently I'm reading like fiction, um, sort of realistic fiction. Like I'm reading about like murderers and stuff like that right now.
That's okay. That's okay. You're very young.
Yeah, that's what I'm currently like. At first it was like very big sci-fi fiction and all, but now I'm slowly trying to explore different forms, which is why I'm trying to read more novels and more realistic.
And Manya, you are how old are you? 13?
For yeah, turning 14 in a month.
Turning 14.
Yeah,
When?
next month.
All right. Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you.
Okay. So you're a teenager already?
Yeah.
Everybody's telling you, oh my God, you're a teenager. And all that. Okay. So that's a very decent space. Literature, writing, reading. It's a very decent space. There is the difference between the first two and the next two, your performing arts and culinary arts and writing, literature, and finally at the other end of the spectrum is business economics and all. The difference is how structured is the process of building a career in the space. So literature, writing has a reasonably structured process of building a career. You could, if you wanted to, build a career. Can you? The pros are it's a very intellectually stimulating space. You get to, if you're interested in the literature space, you get to meet very interesting people. You get to encounter very interesting content and engage with other literary people and content. The cons are that the monetary remuneration in the initial years is not huge. Okay. Nevertheless, if you go to a good college, do a good degree, you do get hired, you do get paid. But it's not a crazy amount if you want to get into literature, like you want to become a writer, an author, a teacher, professor. They're not super paid people, right? They're not in the money journey. But you could also get into the corporate world and do corporate communications, content writing. There's a lot of all that kind of copywriting, all that kind of stuff, which gets paid reasonably well, especially if you come out of a good college. Um, so it's a safer way to build a career than performing arts, etc. But still not the big bad world which makes most money. that your parents have been a part of for most of their journey, right? Um, and we can talk about why it's called the big bad world. If you realize your mom mentioned a few times, I'm out of the rat race now. I'm doing this. Both your parents in the last few years have dealt with the not so privileged class, right? And it's more satisfying for some people to work with that class. And it's not necessary to work with that class and not make money. It's not like your mom said, it's a company which is doing good for the world, but it's a for-profit company. So that concept that you have to be a Mother Teresa to do good to the society is over. You can do good to the society and still make money. But it's not crazy money. You're not trying to become the CEO of Microsoft, right? And that's the last option that you spoke about. So economics, business, finance, that's the capitalist world, right? That's the world where you enter and you're a money-making machine. You're looking for the next appraisal, the next growth, the next job, the next jump, the next promotion. There is no good or bad. There is no right or wrong. There is no perfect answers, right? Everything is okay, right? It depends on each person. When you are thinking about what to do, there are several things to consider. One, are you going to inherit $1 billion and money is not your goal? Then a lot of the criteria don't matter, right? Second, if what I'm going to do, I very clearly know what good looks like, to the extent possible. You can never completely control it.
Yeah.
Right? But to the extent possible, I know that, okay, I'm going to be in a sales job. The more revenue I bring in, the more successful I am. So very clear, right? Or I'm in let's say your dad is managing this company. He's handling end-to-end loans. So, I'm sure he's got metrics on how many loans came in, how many got processed, what the turnaround time is, what the recovery percentages are, based on which he knows his team is doing well or not.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if his target was that the people who take loans should be good looking, he'll go crazy, right? Because is Katrina Kaif better looking or Deepika Padukone better looking? Two people will have two different opinions.
Yeah.
It's the same about a cookie, right? Which cookie is better looking or better tasting? It's very subjective, right? So those are fields which are subjective, where what good looks like becomes less predictable and hence can be frustrating because you might not know why you're not growing, right? Whereas if you are in the corporate world, you reasonably know why you're not growing, right? You did not perform, your boss is telling you in the appraisal, you had to bring in so many clients or so much revenue or whatever. Reasonably tangible. Even there are gray areas. Even in that space, there are gray areas or areas which are not predictable, not controllable. Some, subjectivity is there. But a large part is subjective. Once you spend enough time and with parents like yours, they can guide you. You reasonably know what will make me successful.
Yeah.
Right? Now the question is that success you want to go after? Right? Because the generation you are a part of, you are that American kid with the American authority, Indian responsibility. And I'm saying with this all, I don't know you. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're like that super driven, wake up at 5 a.m. kind of a kid. Cities just to chabi baro and get that reaction. I know it.
Neeraj, on the part that how much wealth we are ready to give, and I think one thing that Deepa and I have been very clear from day one is what we have done for ourselves is ours. You need to create something for your own. Of course, we are happy to support you to a certain extent, but we are not going to own your life. You are going to own your life. You are going to own your P&L. Everything is going to be you. What we've done is for us. I think we made that very clear to Manya.
And Manya, what do you think about it? Is that fair?
Huh? Yeah, I think it's fair. Like, I don't have any interest in like living off of their money for my whole life either.
Outstanding.
Like I want to sort of build myself. by my own. I mean, of course,
Excellent.
support is needed, but like, I don't
No,
want to
no, of course, yeah. No, great. That's great. That's absolutely great. Okay, so then, what kind of a life are you looking for based on your own income?
I mean, obviously, more money would be greater. There's a very controversial question if money buys happiness, and I think to an extent it does. So having a large income would be better, which is why like everything that you said I've mostly thought about, which is why I brought up like the creative field. But I also know that logistically I will need to have like a proper job if I want to have a stable income and I want to be set like with the future.
The saner, the safer part is to do the economics, business kind of area between the areas that you spoke about. I'm not saying that's the best and the safest and the most predictable, but in the four that you mentioned, that's the most predictable. Assuming academics keeps going well, right, and you get into a good college and good school and do well in that college, get a good job, and there's a lot of a career is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It doesn't happen overnight. There will be highs and lows, right? Anybody who thinks my career will only have highs and one job, next job, third job, keep growing, doesn't happen, right? Highs and lows, especially in your generation. See, in our generation, life was still reasonably predictable and disruption was less, right? The only big disruption we saw was this IT BPO world that came. India got liberalized, foreign companies came. We all got crazy saying, oh my God, foreign companies, fancy offices, air-conditioned offices and all. In your generation, so the change that used to happen in every 50 years now happens in every 5. And it's much stronger, much more aggressive, much more disruptive. Right? Today we are having this call, this meeting on Google Meet link. 5 years ago, we would not do it unless you came to our office. Right? And 5 years from now, I have no idea, how it will happen. Right? So all I know is it won't happen like this. There'll be a further disruption that is bound to happen. So with the result, there is a lot of change that you're going to encounter. Right. So now when people ask me what are the pillars for a recession-proof career, how do I build a journey where my probability of success is higher, where recessions will not impact me, change will not impact me, will AI take away jobs, all that nonsense that you hear all the time. They're all facts, they're all real issues or risks that we are running in our journey. But the most important elements that you need to develop, which to be honest seems like you're developing well, the first and foremost is work ethic. Right? Hard work consistently is required. I can show you people and your parents, I'm sure, know people who came out of IITs and Harvards and Stanfords and BITS Pilani and did not do well. Right? Because either the work ethic was not there. So they thought because I'm from IIT now, the world will just fall on my feet and nobody gives a shit about it. So work ethic is one. The second is adaptability, flexibility. As the world changes, you need to be able to change. Right? Look at the kind of careers your parents have had. And they're not the only ones. Almost anybody who's half successful today has had to move, right? Has had to change industries, change careers. And that will happen a lot more in your journey. Today, almost everyone I know who's between 20 and 30 almost has 2 careers. So people have a main career and people have a side gig. They're on the board of a not-for-profit. They are doing some mentoring somewhere. They are doing some writing somewhere. They are doing some music thing somewhere. So people are now doing multiple things. A full-time job is not necessary anymore. So entrepreneurship has become like, it's impossible for you to live in a Bangalore, Delhi, Bombay and not know 5 entrepreneurs, small or big, right? That's how common it has become. When we were young, I mean, entrepreneurs were Tatas and Birlas.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody else was an employee.
Yeah.
So now in your generation, full-time jobs are gone. The average age of a job, average tenure of a job is down to 12 to 18 months. That's the average today. Used to be 5 to 7 years. Right? So it's changing. The things are changing at such a pace that you need to be adaptable and flexible. So that's the second thing. First of all is work ethic. Second is adaptability and flexibility. Right? The third is interpersonal skills. Being able to get along with people. Again, your parents will tell you that one of the reasons their careers grew is that because people liked them. They were likable people. Right? People wanted to employ them. People wanted to promote them. People wanted to retain them. So your dad worked with Capital One, outsourced operations, and then Capital One wanted to hire him. Right? Why? Why would you hire him? Did he come with some great skills that nobody in India had? No. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he did, but my guess is no. But they liked him. They said, oh, he's a great guy. He's so high energy. He's constantly working. He's in the office early, never says no to something, so sociable, nice in the meetings. So interpersonal skills remain a strong criteria for success. Right? So that's another important element you need to develop. Right? The fourth is discipline. Okay, whatever you do, you need to be disciplined. Okay, as long as you have these four, you're okay. Then you do science, you do commerce, you do whatever, you'll figure it out. Right? There are people, again, your parents will know enough, who did humanities and are bankers, who did science and are chartered accountants, who did commerce and are running technology companies. Right? So what you study and what you do, it gets blurred at some stage. They start overlapping and mixing at some stage, right? Your college is just a door opener. 10 years later, nobody wants to know where you studied. They want to know what have you done in your job, right? Your college is just a door opener. Your degree, what you studied, is only your starting point. If you do BCom or if you do engineering or if you do English honors or whatever, it's just a starting point. As you start growing, as you hit junior management, middle management, senior management level, then you could do anything, right? Absolutely anything. So there are people who lived in the call center BPO space who are CEOs of large banks in India, right? There are people who were bankers who are now running call centers. There are doctors who are running co-working spaces, MBBS doctors. So at some stage, it starts getting blurred. But these people have those four traits: great work ethic, flexible and adaptable, great interpersonal skills. So people just want to hire them or work with them, right? So you're still very young. And I'll quickly come to why is this question coming up? Why did you guys reach out at this stage? Because you're so young, you still have a long way to go. But in terms of the broad-based direction A is that the business, finance, economics is the most predictable space. The others are also, you can make a career, but the risk factor is higher. Direction 2 is build a great work ethic, be disciplined. While the world has changed, new age careers have come, life is dynamic, full-time careers are going, the basic principles of success have not changed. You can't be successful without a lot of hard work today. Okay? So I'll take a pause. Your dad wanted to say something and then we'll discuss.
Yes, I generally have two questions. One is a general question. Second one is, I would say, like, it's something that I have observed after my startup journey, and I'd want to correct that objectively if I'm wrong from you. I think let me get to the first point, and or let me put this. I don't understand why the Manya's generation, or maybe even a few years younger than Manya, there is so much infatuation towards abroad or anything other than India. Like, it could be for a career, or it could be for education and things like that. And Me, for one, I'm always thinking like, shit, the macro situation in India is so good. Why are these people want to lose opportunity? Because the next 30, 40 years of India, we got the demography. Everything is going to come here. I keep thinking on those lines, but I don't have an objective way to explain this to children. I mean, if you can throw one light, and also specifically for Manya, I would actually put her slightly as her upbringing is above middle class. She doesn't have access to money like many other kids may have or her own friends have. And she also has access to money little more than some of her other friends are also. Like I would say she's above middle class. And how should Manya plan? Because I think the easier thing is to throw money at this problem and say like, हाँ हम पैसा डाल देंगे तुम यूरोप में जाके पढ़ लो. I think that's not something what we want to do. We want her to own it, right? If she wants to do it, it's fine, but she has to own it, right? If there is no spoon feeding between me and Deepa, that is my number one part. I'd love for you to just touch upon with Manya on that piece a little bit. The second piece is around the four qualities that you said, right? I think hard work, adaptability, interpersonal skills, right? And
And discipline.
yeah, and discipline. I think, like, I feel, and this is the part that I said about startup, right? I think one thing that I observed is like people like Deepa and I, we got to where we were as, I would say, we had these four things. I wouldn't discount any of us, but we were a general manager. We were a general management. We were suited for a breadth role, right? And I think going forward, people with these four characters and having a in-depth knowledge will grow like 5x of what a general manager like us would do. And I think like we missed that boat. At 45, I'm never going to learn like how to write my own query and come up to how to solve a problem. I think I'm now dependent on somebody, but I think that particular trend I feel is changing. Like I love that in the youngsters or like even some of the interns that we hired, like how much they want to go depth. Of course, I think they generally have one of these four skills missing, but if someone can master these four with a depth skill, I think that's where probably I think the Sundar Pichais and the Satyam Nadellas, all that comes into play. I mean, that's my observation. I could be wrong, but I just wanted to, that's more for my understanding, but the previous one about the foreign education was more for Manya.
The question I hear is why is Manya and Manya's generation talking about colleges abroad? And two, what is my perspective about colleges abroad? Did I get it right?
And also like support her if at all she wants to do that. And I think...
Sorry, what's the last part?
If at all she is still interested after listening to your point of view, how can we support and what does she need to prepare herself for it?
Sure. So I don't know which one of you will be happy or unhappy based on what I'm going to say. But so the reason Manya is and her generation is thinking about going abroad versus our generation is because her reality is different from our reality. Right? The reason we never thought about going abroad is because we knew there is no chance in hell our parents can afford it.
Yeah.
We had, very limited resources. She knows her parents have greater resources, whether in the bank or in the property or in the loan or whatever. That's her generation knows that. The only foreign country I'd gone to before my corporate life, based on my parents' expenses, was Nepal. And I was super excited going to a foreign country, which was Kathmandu and poorer than India. And, the only other thing we saw apart from Indian looking people is monkeys. Foreign education for me would have meant Nepal. And, I wasn't planning to go to Nepal for foreign education, but she's been to Europe, she's been to other countries. To your point, she has not gone and looked at colleges, but she's a 13-year-old, right? Her exposure to the Western world is the trips she had, the hotel she stayed in, the cab she sat in, the restaurants she went to, the shows she saw, the planes she sat in, the movies she has seen, the conference calls she has seen her parents be on. That's an exposure to the foreign world. So that's one. The second is that children know when their parents have resources and children know when their parents don't have resources. So today's generation of her profile know that my parents have resources. Well, too much or too less, it doesn't matter, but they do have resources. And the third is that they have a lot more knowledge. The click of a button on their phone. Does she have a phone?
Yeah.
Smartphone? With
iPhone in particular.
Yeah. So with an Instagram account, with WhatsApp, with Facebook, with Snapchat, with all that. So, I mean, she knows more, to be honest, than me, right? She knows more almost about everything than me. Things that we want her to know and things we don't want her to know, right? She knows it.
Yeah.
13 is quite an age today. 13 is the new 16. Now let's come to, is it better to go abroad or study in India? Right? Well, there is no doubt that it's easier to get into a good college abroad than to get into a good college in India. We are a country of masses. To get into, people get 97% and don't get into Delhi University. People get 90%, get a good, 2000 rank in JEE and don't get into IIT Bombay with computer science. So how bad can it be? They are hiring people from MIT and Stanford and IITs and all over the place. So to say that if I go to an Indian college, I will miss the bus and then I will not do well and how will my life journey happen is stupid. You can still build a great journey. But there are pros and cons to it. So again, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? Will the experience be the same? No. But can you get the experience of eating a burger in LA or eating a burger in Rotterdam or in, whichever, London or Durham or wherever you plan to go 3-4 years later and still get that experience? Yes, you can, right? It's not going to make any difference at all. Right? If you had said, like, look, for the first 10 years of her life, we lived in UK and now we are back, she's really used to that. How will she deal with it? I would say, okay, yeah, you need to think about it. But she's an Indian kid. I'm sure she's got an Indian passport and she can get into an Indian college. So if you think the answer to either of those questions is a no, will the money pinch you or, is the money easy and is she mature enough to deal with life in that country? If the answer to any of those questions is fully or partly no, then it's a decision made. Don't go. Then do it in India. If the answer to both is a very strong, emphatic yes, yes, she can deal with it, yes, money is available in abundance, then it is good to go. Yeah. And in the next 4 years, 9, 10, 11, 12, remember that wherever you go for college, India or outside India, academics is the first thing colleges want. Right. In fact, for outside India, a lot of people say, oh, I don't need to study because they want a well-balanced profile, so academics don't matter. But academics is the first thing that colleges will look at. So you need to work insanely hard and do insanely well to your optimal. I'm not saying you need to top in India, top in the state, top in your school. You need to hit what your potential is, which means work hard enough and then rest, whatever you get is fine. Right? And who knows, you will top in India, who knows, you will top in your school. But academics should be a big part of your life. Right? And then prepare for colleges in India. Next 4 years is a long journey. Many things will change. Many new colleges will come in. There are already a lot of new age colleges where you can go and learn in the new manner. But yeah, India has great options.
And colleges have a lot of choices as well, right? Like students can choose 2 or 3 subjects they'll major in, and then
Yeah. There's a whole American liberal arts structure at Ashoka, Flame, Kriya. Now there is Plaksha, there is Shivnadar, there is Bennett University, there is Ashoka, the Azim Premji University. There is a lot of those options today, and they're not easy to get in.
Right.
They have their own.
Full graduate program and AP.
Okay. Those are good colleges. Both are really good colleges.
The takeaway for Manya should be focus on those 4 pillars, and try to put some effort on academics, right? Because
Here is the advice for Manya. Focus on the 4 pillars. But you know, the interesting part is you can't focus on those 4 pillars. You need to focus on things which develop those 4 pillars.
Yeah.
It's almost stupid for me to tell a child be disciplined. Like, what does that mean? Right? So focus on academics. Academics is the easiest way to make a great career. So focus on academics. Read. You're already a reader. Move beyond fiction. You're reading fiction, slowly move to biographies and autobiographies and memoirs and articles in Harvard Business Review, and expand your horizon, right? I'm sure your parents can tell you which journals to read, and read them. Start writing. You have a blog already. I have no idea how sort of well developed the blog is, and do you have followers or what are you doing? But make it more formal and public, and start writing. Do more work, right? You can do an internship. You can start a business venture of your own. You can be a doer. You know, my core principle, anybody who knows me well knows my core principle is think less, do more. Right? The problem is we want to think a lot. Right? In your generation, you think a lot because you have a lot of time. In our generation today, we think a lot because we've sort of made our money and now we have the time. So think less, do more. Think, but 90-10 is the ideal. 80-20 is the max. You can go to 20% time think, 80% time do, but think less. So that's another thing I'll leave with you. Read and write. That's important. Learn. There's every possible skill available in an online free course, right? Every possible skill, from coding to writing to filmmaking to how to build a rocket to everything is available online. So go on to Coursera, EDX, and all these places and do some online courses. Do some things that you're not good at, right? Learn coding. Learn something that you're not very fond of. Go beyond your comfort zone. So if you are into baking and all that, or do more work where you can engage with people, develop your interpersonal skills in your team management and your people management, and you can bake and sell, you can bake and donate, you can sing and create your Spotify account or your video channel, YouTube channel. Become more visible, right? Put stuff out there. Next year or the year after, have your own LinkedIn account. Put your profile out there. The age barrier is gone. I know people who in 10th, 11th grade got offers from top companies and say, when you decide to start working, let us know. We'll hire you. So don't wait, right? Start working. There is no age barrier. You can earn 50 lakhs 2 years from now. Right, but it takes effort. It takes a lot of sacrifice. So be the doer and just start doing these things. And that's it. That's all you need to do. Discipline will automatically come. You can't do them without discipline. If you wake up at 9 a.m., you can't do all this. By 9 a.m., half the day's job should be done. I like the way you smile. But it's possible. It won't happen overnight. Don't worry. Don't be too harsh on yourself. Read the books which teach you good things. Read Atomic Habits. I'm a big supporter of Atomic Habits. Read Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell. It's my favorite all time. Read Shoe Dog for the entrepreneurial journey of Phil Knight, the Nike founder. What else? Read The Psychology of Money. Right? When your parents have all these books, they've read all these books, they know about these books. So read these books and discuss it with them, have conversations, create a student group who are interested in reading, discuss with them, put your discussions online, just do stuff. The world is going to change. Don't watch it change, make it change. Those are the people who will hold the key to tomorrow. There's a lot of people who come to me and say the world is changing. What do I do? And I say, you are watching it. Stop watching it. Do something about it.
Yeah.
Right? You can either watch what happened and wonder what happened, or make it happen. So you make it happen. Somebody's making it happen. Somebody made ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't come from some temple or some church or some gurudwara. One human being made it. Right? So stop depending on everyone, including your parents. You start driving your journey. Become responsible for your journey. Dependence that you are building in yourself is going to be your biggest barrier, because you'll go into a company and then you'll say, no, Emphasis should build my career, or whatever, GE should build my career, Infosys should build my career, Wipro should build my career. But they don't give a shit about you. They want their work done. Right? But by then we become so dependent that we want the company, the boss, the manager, the client, the peers, the HR to build my career. But they don't give a shit about it. They've got enough people standing outside saying, fire this person, hire me. Right? So become self-reliant for everything. And your parents will start trusting you. They'll say, man, I mean, when you will go and say, what should I do in 11? They'll say, you seem to know more than us. You're really driving your journey. You decide. You seem to have a plan. Right? So you need to have a plan which, be prepared, will fail sometimes. And it's all right. The motto today should be fail fast. Right? Do things so you can fail. If you've never failed, nobody will hire you ever. Right? When people ask you about your failures and you say none, you're out of the door. Nobody wants to touch you. Right? So just do things so you can fail and learn.